Shoreline Rentals' years of experience means hoping you plan a wonderful beach vacation or management of your home will be a breeze. Visit their website or call them today, shorelinerentals-pcb.com or 850-757-7118. Young Cycle across from FedEx Mosley Drive in Lynn Haven has a fantastic selection of pre-owned Harleys at great prices. Great prices. Don't buy a Harley until you stop by Young Cycle. Young Cycle. A full service department is available too, offering motor trike conversions, parts, and accessories. Nothing compares to Harley-Davidson and the low prices on pre-owned Harleys at Young Cycle. Young Cycle, 112 Mosley Drive across from FedEx in Lynn Haven.
Ben and Deb Collins, owners of Bay Guns and Gear, have been in business since 2010, offering new firearms and accessories with a huge selection available for your hunting needs and personal defense. Turn to Bay Guns and Gear. They have the weapon for you. Discount pricing. And if you can't find what you're looking for, they'll special order it for you. Bay Guns and Gear, across from Grease Pro at 3115 Highway 77. Visit their website, baygunsandgear.com.
Did you know most seniors don't have dental coverage? Dental health can have an impact on your overall health. It's been shown that poor oral health can cause or complicate medical issues such as coronary heart disease, stroke, and diabetes. As you age, it's important to maintain good oral health through brushing, flossing, and visiting the dentist on a regular basis. Ameritas Dental is committed to helping you stay healthy through its individual dental insurance plan options, which are available to everyone, including those over the age of 65. With Ameritas, you can visit the dentist of your choice and be eligible for 100% coverage of basic benefits on day one in most circumstances. Ameritas plans provide competitive coverage on exams, cleanings, fillings, crowns, implants, dentures, and so much more. What are your dental needs? Call Michael Dennison today, 850-271-4389 to find out which plan fits best for you.
W271DM Mariana, WVLQ Port St. Joe, ESPN Northwest Florida. Welcome to the house. It's time for the Afternoon Underdogs.
It's happening.
Wow.
It's on right now.
Opinionated and unfiltered. The hot takes, the rants, and the sports talk you crave.
Give it to me.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
What's going on, Northwest Florida? You're now riding with the Afternoon Underdogs, and you're tuned in to ESPN Northwest Florida. We're on 104.3 right here in Panama City, 102.1 in Mariana, all the way to Dothan. Got the new tower up, and it is working fantastic. Also in 101.9, or on 101.9. on the Forgotten Coast in Port St. Joe. It's ESPN Northwest Florida. We're the Afternoon Underdogs. It is Friday, and we've got a big holiday coming up Monday, which is Memorial Day. So make sure you take time out of your day on Monday to, it's really about the fallen soldiers. But 100%. Still, 100%. If you see someone in uniform, or if you know someone who's put their life on the line for this great country and all of these freedoms that we have, make sure that you thank them and remember the ones who have fallen along the way, because without them, we're not sitting here talking about these silly things. Like, I love sports to death, and that's my whole life and always has been, but I'm not naive enough to know, without those sacrifices, we don't get to this point, and we're blessed to be at this point, so make sure that you take some time out of your holiday on Monday to think and thank the fallen soldiers for Memorial Day. We will not be in the studio on Monday, but we will have the inside drive. So we won't.
Making Brian come in.
Yeah, Brian's gonna be. Brian, I hope. I do need to remind him that we're not going to be having a show. I'm pretty sure we talked about that a little bit on Monday, but if not, he can come in and just chime in along with the pre-recorded show or the best of show. So we're going to have a best of show for the inside drive in for the Afternoon Underdogs. In the morning, you're going to get an extra hour of Keyshawn, Jay, Will, and Max, and then you'll also get at 9 o'clock Dan Patrick. So Dan Patrick will be running actually from 8 to 11 there. So Going to be a great Monday as far as, coverage right here of our local shows and ESPN Northwest Florida. We'll have your Atlanta Braves, and the coverage for that game will start at 5:55. I'm David Hayes along with AG. That's Adam Goff. Caveman Rick, Bone Crushers with us on the ones and the twos. We got a loaded show for you guys today. As always on Fridays, we have the Real Fishing Report with Tim Braddock. Also with Bay Breeze Bait and Tackle. Last Friday was a lot of fun. We had Ryder Shillingham, the 16-year-old man who's homeschooled, who works there at the tackle shop or at the bait shop, and also makes his own lures, and those things are pretty cool. So make sure you get on down to Bay Breeze Bait and Tackle and grab some of those shilling baits if you're a freshwater type of fisherman. We also are going to have our traffic jam and trivia today. Got a good Braves question lined up for you guys. We'll get into hour number 2. I'm going to try to give Doug Hardwick a call, who's up there at the Indianapolis 500. Hopefully we can hear some of those cars go around the track. At 5:20, AG and Caveman Rick came up with a pretty cool plan today where we're going to go over the top 5. At least me and AG are going to go over the top 5 batting stances that we mimicked or emulated. And then we'll go into the top 5 just craziest batting stances of that we've seen in our lifetime at the Major League Baseball level. And then we'll get into our local to wrap the show up today. Hopefully everyone is having a wonderful Friday afternoon. Last night, AG, your Boston Celtics, one game closer to evening up this series. Not a huge outpouring of points from Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, just 21 points apiece. And Derek White was the leading scorer of the entire night. Before we dive into what happened last night, where's your confidence at? What's your confidence level for the Celtics to at least bring it back to Boston for Game 7?
If the defense plays the way it did last night, which led to all those transition points, then it doesn't matter what Jason Tatum shows up. Because that team that you saw last night in Boston was absolutely everywhere. They were all over the court. They were diving for loose balls. They were getting the taps and the run-outs. They were getting
the
easy
hustle
buckets.
plays. Yeah.
The hustle plays, 100%. They were crashing the boards. They did what they were supposed to do. So when you see a guy like Derek White who has shown flashes of, hey, this guy could be a starter on most teams if he continues to play that way. You saw him last night take advantage of all of that transition play. And, I don't want to say it was seamless because there was still some opportunities there. But as a Celtics fan, I'm much happier when we have either a 6-point lead with 6 minutes to go or we have a 20-point lead with 6 minutes to go. Anywhere in between makes me nervous because there's that letdown that happens. Because it's 6 minutes. They've been there before, and they've got enough veteran leadership there and experience to they can continue to hold out. But when it's 14, 15 points in that 6 minute to go range, it gets kind of nerve-wracking. And I feel like
dicey.
Well, I feel like they play not to lose as opposed to continue to do what they did to get them there in the first place. So I don't know if it's coaching, I don't know if it's leadership, or if it's both.
No, I just don't think they have that alpha dog in them, like I said about Tatum. That's one of the reasons why I don't think he's a superstar. He didn't have to have a great game. I mean, they had, 4 guys with 20-plus points?
At least, yeah.
So, it was a team effort last night. So when you have that going on, of course, one guy's not going to have to do it all by himself and put it on his back. And like everybody's been saying, the Celtics are supposedly the best team or better team on paper.
This roster.
If you look at it, the roster, compared to the Heat. So they basically did what they should have done. Their problem is they're just inconsistent. They can't put up the same game every, game to game. That's their thing. They should, the games they should win seem like they're losing, and the ones that, they probably should lose are winning. And that's just, usually not going to cut it. So good for them. We'll see if they can make it. There's some people out there that think, like Greeny, for instance, that they're going to be the first team out of 150 to come back from down 0-3. I don't see it myself, but, they can prove us wrong.
Well, the Celtics are just really lucky that Gabe Vincent wasn't playing. That's what it boils down to.
Well, to get back to Rick's point with bringing up Greeny, if there's one team in this playoffs that could come back from 3-0, it is these Celtics because we've seen just how deep this team is. So whether, if Tatum has an off night, Jaylen Brown can step up. If they both have an off night, you've seen Marcus Smart step up. Horford's not the same guy, but he's going to be out there doing his thing. So that's where it's frustrating as a Celtics fan, is because you look at that roster and you go, okay, Brogdon's been a star in this league.
Yeah.
Jaylen Brown's been a star in this league. Jason Tatum is a star in this league. Marcus Smart is a star in this league. Al Horford is probably one of the most accomplished veterans in the league right now. And so for us to sit back and look at this roster and think they can't come back from 3-0, I think you're missing the boat.
And it was a tough night for the starters of Miami last night as well. But if you do that same thing that you just did with the Celtics, and we look at the Heat, Kevin Love, I think that is safe to say, and I'm not, like, without Horford, right, veteran, but with Kevin Love, are we closer to has been? Yeah, still a wily vet, and is a great addition to a team when it comes to depth. But I don't know if I would, if I'm going to consider Kevin Love even a star at this point outside of name, because there is that difference, right? You can have the name like that. The whole reason Jason Tatum is in that conversation of superstar is because of the name, right? Like, not what he's done, but like if we're having to ask ourselves this question, it's not necessarily solidified yet. So then you go Jimmy Butler. I would say superstar. I would say superstar playoff.
Not either.
I would say playoffs.
Yes,
absolutely a superstar. Bam Adebayo. I would say star. Star for 100%. Sure there. Yeah. Kyle Lowry, again, kind of one of those now can give you great minutes.
He's a shadow of his former self.
He's a shadow. Like, that's what I'm saying. And I don't mean has been as far as negative.
But the thing with Kevin Love.
Yeah.
And the difference between Kevin Love and Al Horford is that Kevin Love isn't being depended upon and relied on quite like Al Horford is with the Celtics. I mean, Kevin Love starts, but we played 14 minutes?
14 minutes last night,
right? So, he hit 3 of his 7 shots. That's good. He had 6 boards, all of that in 14 minutes. So the time that you're getting from him, he's productive, but he can't be a centerpiece to that offense. We've seen times, even this season, where Al Horford has been the guy that has stepped up and hit some big shots. I mean, he's relatively the new Big Shot Bob, if you will, because he seems to always be there. The ball seems to find him. But the key to this series for the Celtics is going to be obviously winning Game 6, because otherwise they're out. But going down there, and if you can keep it within striking distance midway through the third, they have a legitimate shot to bring that thing back to Boston.
I think people just need to pump the brakes on the Celtics. I mean, if they do pull this off and they do end up winning this series, they shouldn't be throwing roses, I don't think, at the Celtics. Because, I mean, you just beat the Heat. I mean, it's not like, you're coming back against some juggernaut of a team,
But it's never been done, though, regardless.
But here's the deal. Regardless, but, like, this is supposed to be, you're supposed to be the better team out of the two, all right? They already got up on you 3 games, so they know they can win 3 in a row, the Heat do. So they should be able to win at least one more, to finish them off. If they don't, it's more of an indictment on the Heat, I believe, than the Celtics being this, great team that, made this huge accomplishment, in my book anyway.
Well, go ahead.
No, what I was going to say is this is the Heat team, they're the 8th seed, whatever. It's still Jimmy Butler. It's still Eric Spoelstra. I mean, he's called the mechanic for a reason. I mean, you can say it was D-Wade, you can say it was LeBron, whatever. The dude can flat out
It's really Patrick Riley is what it is with that
Spoelstra
franchise.
Can coach, man. And for me, if you look at this, throw roses or whatever, but you never should have been there in the first place being down 3-0. Because I tell you this right now, you go down 2-0, if they're able to pull off this miraculous comeback, and they're playing the Nuggets. If they go down 2-0 to the Nuggets, it's curtains.
That's a totally different type of 2-0. And you look at Jimmy Butler last night, just kind of a little bit flat, only having 14 points. I believe that's his lowest point total.
10 shots.
Yeah.
What's that say?
10 shots. Well, the defense tightened up on Jimmy Butler. That's really what it is. And the same way with Jason Tatum. Jason Tatum, even though you got Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum that you got to kind of worry about there, but who's always getting the second guy? It's always been Jason Tatum. Like, who's getting the double team? If it's not a true double team, who's shadowing Jason Tatum? You know what I mean? That's one of the things that makes it tough for your guy to, and don't get me wrong, superstars overcome. But if Jason Tatum comes out and has another series like he did last series, meaning Game 6 and Game 7, he kind of just goes out of his mind, then, there's that next closer, or that next step closer to, there's no doubt at that point.
If this gets to a Game 7, can we at least do something to honor both Udonis Haslem as well as Al Horford for being in the league this long, and get them out there in the fourth quarter, even if it's for just 30 seconds, and then we get a foul or whatever.
You would love that if the Celtics are up and you're like, hey,
right,
bring in UD.
But my point, but the thing is, think about that. You've got Udonis Haslem and Al Horford. They were on the 2003 Florida Gators team.
Yeah, golly.
20 years they've been in the league. I mean, as long as LeBron, obviously. But, I mean, those two dudes have been doing it for a very long time. How cool would it be to see two former teammates from the, Florida Gators, sorry, Kyle, get out on the court in the NBA Eastern Conference Finals of Game 7?
Oh, I mean, it would be great. Look at the final game in the regular season for the Heat when they let Udonis Haslem come in there and he scored 24 points, shooting maybe not lights out, but shooting decently from the arc there. So very interesting stuff. And I'm interested in Game 6 now, because I really felt strongly that the Heat were going to come away with it. But, listening to everyone today is like, well, the Celtics were at the house. Everything was kind of pointing. They were 8-point favorites. So they did their job last night, and tomorrow night's going to be interesting, man. But it's going to be a little bit tougher. You're back in Miami. The Heat have only lost one game, albeit that one game was to the Boston Celtics in this very series. But that's the only game that they've lost at the house. So that's going to be intriguing as well. And then, to make Memorial Day better, I would like a Game 7. I would love a Game 7 to make Memorial Day just a little bit better.
Right.
I'm sure the league would, too, for the eyeballs and the ratings.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, because like you talked about before, them coming back from 3-0 down, never been done before. You bring that on a Memorial night. Everybody's fresh off the grill or sitting around the grill on their back porch, got the TV going, cracked open a few whatevers, and
Pepsis.
Sit back, right? There you go, Buffalo Rock. Sitting there and just watching the game and having a good time.
And like you were saying too, it could be the last moment of guys like Horford and Haslam could play, because
Kevin Love, maybe
one of them's probably going to end up being retired after this season. You would think maybe, and it'd be the last game.
Haslam,
Well,
I think he's going into coaching, right? And didn't Spoelstra bringing him on staff? I think that's what I heard.
Kind of be, I don't want to say dumb, because of all that Spoelstra's done. And back to that point, I thought when Pat Riley brought in Spoelstra, it was just to hear LeBron tell this guy what to do. You know what I mean?
Right,
but
here's your puppet.
Right, but then the way that it's gone after has just been, you have to give him his roses.
You're talking about 03. I had a buddy of mine who had his younger brother living down there in the Gainesville area, and he went to the junior college just right next to the University of Florida. And in the area he lived in, it was like some commons area of this apartment complex. We were up on his balcony, and UD was in the parking lot, like right below us, stone's throw away from the balcony, while he was talking to some people. We were out there, yelling at him and stuff, and pretty cool. But that was back like in a 01. So that just shows you back how long ago that was.
How long he's been doing
back
it.
when you didn't have facial hair.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Keith Dimmick says, go Miami Heat. Justin Lassiter says, the Nuggets should have the advantage in the finals against either team with the altitude advantage. Thoughts? So we did have Zubin Mehenti on a week or so ago, and he did, kind of comment on that.
I think that's overrated.
I agree, and that's where I was kind of going.
They're professional athletes.
Well, not just that, but then Charles Barkley gets on today with Dan Patrick, and that was, honestly, go back and listen to that interview, because
check it out.
Oh, it was so good.
Chuck's
Dan
awesome.
Patrick and Charles Barkley. But he was saying, why don't the Nuggets have any more this is their first finals appearance.
Right.
So if it's that big of an advantage.
Well, same thing with the Rockies, same thing with the Avalanche.
Yeah.
As well, same thing with the Denver Broncos. All that stuff would be different with them.
Yeah, and you would think, of all of them, you would think that the Rockies would have the biggest advantage, being in the mile
Dion
high.
should have an advantage this year.
Well, I don't know. Well, I guess, as far as being in shape and all of that good stuff, because college athletes are not at the same level as professional athletes, so there could be.
Well, I mean, there's a reason why they train up there to begin with. I get all that, but if you're a professional athlete anyways, and it's your business to have a really good body and to be able to perform, that shouldn't be an excuse. Oh man, we lost because we played
The only
in Denver.
advantage Denver is going to have is that they've had like a week off while the Celtics or the Heat are fighting their butts off just to meet them there.
That is true, but also we know that rust can accumulate. You know, rust.
No, so what's that fine line, right? Between, okay, we're going to come out rusty or we're going to be rested. So I think Jamal Murray is probably one of those guys that I don't think gets rusty.
Especially in the playoffs. He's another guy.
Right.
Like
and he's
Butler
one of those guys that, like, you know, he missed out on in the bubble. Mm-hmm. You know, he got injured. He had a hell of a series against Donovan Mitchell and the Jazz. In that opening round, I think that went Game 7
I think he had a 50-point game in that as well.
Yeah, D. Mitch had the same thing. Mm-hmm. It was, I mean, those two are going at it, and then, of course, he gets hurt. So, you know, he's hungry as well. It's going to be exciting. Everybody bags on Jokic, but you know what? That dude is awesome to watch.
I mean, he is. It's legitimate. I don't want to say legitimate. It's old school basketball, and it's a lot of fun to watch. And to Justin's point, not necessarily about the altitude advantage, but regardless of which team is going to be taking on the Nuggets, I like the Nuggets. Before we see a game between the two, I mean, the better team overall, you got the best player. There's no doubt, right? Jokic is the best player that's still playing in the playoffs.
Fundamentals is what people don't understand. Is that guy is like a pure fundamental, like sound player coming from overseas. Those guys over there are all about fundamentals. It's not about sizzle. It's not about flash. It's not about being ball centric and stuff like people's games are over here because of the way, like, you know, AAU type stuff is set up and all, you know, the way these kids are brought up, you know, playing the game. If you have somebody that has a mindset like that and you can get the right group of people around him to play that way where everybody's playing the same way, they'll have success. It's the part of the reason why, like, if you look back 95, 96 type years in the NHL, that the Detroit Red Wings played so great. They had the Russian Five. They had 5 guys that basically played together for, you know, 18, 20 years. They played a certain style of game that the rest of the league really didn't play either, and because of that, they were successful.
Yeah, no doubt. Justin says those were a bunch of nuggets. That feels like you guys don't agree. And, you know, it's one of those things. I think you'll get a different opinion from everyone, but I think after hearing Chuck saying that, and then you look at the rest of the sports there in Denver or in Colorado, and nothing has come of it.
You know what else Dan asked him?
Go ahead.
About Shaq getting under his skin about the not having any championship.
It don't bother me.
But then he said, of course, Shaq, he had to go with Kobe and he had to go play with Dwayne Wade to win championships. He didn't win any by himself.
No doubt about it, man.
Chuck didn't have a wingman like that.
You're riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. This is ESPN Northwest Florida. We're going to take a quick time out. Thank you guys so much for listening. We'll be right back with the Real Fishing Report with Tim Braddock and Bay Breeze Bait and Tackle.
ESPN Northwest Florida. It's the Coach James Hale Show.
As a player, what did you like better, the grass or the turf? And now as a coaching, what do you like better that kids playing on?
For me, obviously, I grew up playing in grass. We didn't really have a lot of turf fields in the northern England area, but turf is very hot, and obviously, you know.
Weekday morning, 7 to 9, ESPN Northwest Florida.
Good afternoon. This is Joanna with your latest forecast on ESPN Northwest Florida. The remainder of the day, partly cloudy and a temperature of 79 with a 13 to 17 miles per hour wind out of the northeast. Mostly clear skies tonight, a gentle breeze and cool near 65. Sunny and 78 tomorrow. 77 and sunshine with a light breeze Sunday. Monday, mostly sunshine and temperature about the same at 81. This is your Friday's weather brought to you by Ellis Agency Insurance. Thank you for tuning into ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Living on the Gulf Coast, we have beautiful beaches, clear water, and amazing marine life. Want to bring a piece of the ocean into your home or office with an amazing aquarium? Gulf Coast Aquarium, the area's only certified platinum CChem dealer. Their staff are all certified CChem specialists. Gulf Coast Aquarium can install, design, maintain, and finance your own piece of the Gulf. Gulf Coast Aquarium, powered by CChem, with over 40 years as a U.S.-based manufacturer of quality aquarium products. Online at GulfCoastAquarium.com. Gulf Coast Aquarium, where it's more than than just a tank.
Los Rancheros has been doing it right for 20 years. Los Rancheros brings a top-shelf dining experience to you with the opening of their beautiful new building. Watch all college and pro games on Los Rancheros' 14 large-screen TVs with great drink specials daily from 2 to 5 and during all the games. Los Rancheros, the place for live sports and great food on 23rd Street between Jenks and Harrison.
Behind some strong defense, clutch pitching, and a booming offense, this 2023 Brave squad is reminding the league who they are.
A 1-2 from Strider. Take a hike. Swung on and missed at a 100-mile-an-hour fastball, and Spencer is locked in.
Tonight, it's Atlanta Braves baseball live from Truist Park in Atlanta as they clash with division rivals, the Philadelphia Phillies.
Coverage starts tonight at 6. First pitch, 6:20 on your home for the Atlanta Braves on the Gulf Coast, ESPN, Northwest Florida.
The Real Fishing Report. It's expert insider information from Tim at Bay Breeze Bait and Tackle. What's biting? What bait to use? Where to cast? And now, the Real Fishing Report on 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
And we are back. You're riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. You're tuned in to ESPN Northwest Florida, and it's 104.3 in Panama City, 102.1 in Marietta, all the way to Dothan, and 101.9 in Port St. Joe. We're the Afternoon Underdogs, and as always on Fridays at 4:20, we've got Tim Braddock with Bay Breeze Bait and Tackle giving us the Real Fishing Report. What's going on, Tim?
Man, I'm flying solo today.
Yeah,
I haven't done this in a while.
Can I just say I love the juxtaposition of this soft, kind of somber melody, and then we just go right into Tim. And it's like, holy cow.
Billy Sunday's in the building.
It's a way to go out on Friday.
Like,
I love this segment.
We're going to slow roll you into it, and then wham.
Yeah, I would. I'd be curious to know how many people know who Billy Sunday is.
Yeah, chime in if you do.
That's somebody I read a lot after and about, and so yeah, you got that nice. Everybody's relaxed.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, it's 7 o'clock in the morning. Everybody's still trying to roll out of bed. And then Tim wakes up.
You're that guy if you're ever on a vacation with like a big group of people, and it's like once Tim's up, everybody's up at that point. Let's go.
Yeah, there's actually a verse in Proverbs that deals with basically making noise in the morning, being the loudmouth in the morning. And I got that quoted to me as a teenager by my own parents.
This is my shock.
So, yeah, you're real surprised, right? So, I enjoy getting up anytime between 4:30 and 5:30, but I have learned all these gray hair.
Yeah.
You learn a little bit in life. And so now I don't do anything in the house at all. So I don't disturb 2 dogs and then my fiance, right?
Oh,
so
yeah.
I've learned you just go outside and get everything done, and sometime around 9, 10 o'clock, maybe you can get that
like 6 hours later. Half my day is accomplished now. Hey, honey.
And that's a true story. So let's talk about fishing. I mean, my goodness, every week these segments, particularly when we have these guests in, seem to run right up against the time, and I look at the content on what to cover for that day. And it's kind of like just picking and choosing. You know, you're walking down the aisle at Costco, at the prime meats that are everywhere. And then you're just like, man, which one am I going to get?
Yes, sir.
And so that's how these fishing reports have been over the past few weeks. Today is really no exception. I mean, the fishing everywhere has been fantastic. If you listen to the summary, last week I had a nice summary typed out and ended up being able to do a montage rather than the summary we're going to read, but it was, we called it the trifecta, and it was the third weekend in a row that was beautiful. If you hadn't had a chance to get out and fish, last weekend was that weekend.
It was pretty good.
And but we have great reports coming in from all over. I've been able to fish some this week as well. The surf is still a fantastic area to fish. It probably will be. Throughout the summer to remain active, but the majority, what people want to catch are going to be pompano and your redfish. And we're on the latter part of that pompano run. So doesn't mean we won't catch them throughout the summer. Doesn't mean there'll be days when that northeast wind blows in like this weekend if you watch the forecast. And you'll see those pompanos show up and be caught. You also sometimes see them being caught throughout the evening at that point. And we're looking forward to next week having a great guest on. That's all he does is dedicated pompano fish. Yeah. So
in the bay, too, like when you're going out, you can throw like in the prop wash of your boats.
Yeah.
And I've seen, heard lots of people catching pompano. You wouldn't believe it, but they're almost coming up to the top in that prop wash to catch to get baits. You can actually catch them with lures and stuff actually like that.
Yeah, so we use a little jig called a silly willy, and that's exactly what happens. And they'll go through, troll around the jetties or other places within the bay and throw those little 3/4 ounce jigs right behind the boat.
Yep.
And it's got a little teaser on it. Pink white is the preferred color. But let's talk about bay fishing right now, too. Again, we give surf fishing a little bit of attention. Last week we gave freshwater a full segment.
Yeah.
And
well, the surf fishing is like your forte, though, right?
Yeah, surf fishing is the main activity for the shop. And I get asked a lot what my favorite type of fishing is. I love to go trout fishing up in North Georgia. That is hands down. I love going up there by myself and just wading through the rivers.
Yep. Done a little of that myself.
Yeah, my buddy Andy owns Cohutta up there. Usually stop by in that local bait shop or local fly shop, get the latest and greatest. And the fly world is a whole nother section. We have a guest scheduled to come on late June to talk about fly fishing here in the Panhandle. We have great fly fishing areas here, all the way from Port St. Joe all the way over to Pensacola. And so we'll cover some of that over the next few weeks. But right now, there's a lot of people coming in for Memorial Day, and they're wanting to know, man, what are we going to go catch? What are we doing? And that's all the talk in the shop right now is everybody's wanting to know. We got people going out on the Captain Anderson boats, the charter fleet. We have people who are, DIYing it this weekend. They bought a new boat. They're ready to get that thing broke in. So where do we go fishing, right? That's the big question. And if you've got a charter or guide service, obviously you're going to go where they take you. If you're looking for somewhere to fish this weekend, the highlight section that we talk about in the summary and then also on the show today is the jetties. And I would highly encourage anybody looking to go. If you've never fished the jetties, sometimes maybe looking at the rocks or trying to figure out how to get out there and fish, sometimes that can be a little hesitating or do I really want to go do this? And there's areas out there at St. Andrews where you can easily access. It's like a concrete walkway you can easily access and be able to fish right by the jetties. You can also climb out on the rocks. Again, make sure you have stable footwear. I typically wear flip-flops, but if I'm going to go fish on the jetties, I'll wear tennis shoe. And I have one of those dry wear socks, right, that wick away moisture, not supposed to hold it. And I'll wear tennis shoes when I go on the jetties simply because of how jagged the rocks can be. So, K-Man Rick, you ever fished on the jetties before?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Good variety of fish you can catch out there. I mean, you can catch stuff between like Spanish mackerel. You can catch redfish. There's sheep's head, speckled trout, sharks. I mean, anything that's going in and out of that bay is coming through that pass. That's where everything bottlenecks. So basically, I mean, you just never know. I've heard of stories. Well, not story. I mean, it did happen. It was a kid a few years ago, or maybe a handful of years ago, caught a sailfish on a paddleboard right by the jetties. It pulled them about 4 miles offshore, and they actually came with a boat to kind of help him out. But he ended up getting the sailfish in and getting it back to shore on the paddle boat, from what I understand, over there by the jetties.
Yeah, so that actually it happened out of Destin.
Wow. And
it was out of the jetties out of Destin, 4 miles out, and pretty crazy event to get hooked up there and then have to ride that thing all the way out and through.
Don't you usually like 2 miles just go, you know what? I can't do this anymore.
I'm done.
I landed it. I
Brother,
kill everybody. I landed it.
If I'm on a paddleboard, and something starts taking me somewhere I don't want to go.
Right.
Either the rod's going in or I'm cutting the line or something. I'm not going to paddle back 4 miles.
Well, let's talk about, because again we're kind of focusing in on jetties, fishing those jetties.
Yeah.
You can walk, right, and access it by foot through the state park there at St. Andrews, or you can obviously fish it by boat. This weekend, boat traffic's going to be heavy, and so the question came up in shop. It was a pretty common or instinctful question on, was that going to scare the fish away? The answer to that is no. And particularly if you fish the right spots on the jetties. And so when we're talking about types of fish, it's important to note the bull reds are there right now. So those big redfish, those 35 to 40-inch redfish.
Bring the right gear for that, too.
That's exactly right. And you definitely want a medium heavy up to a heavy rod. You want to make sure. The biggest thing with fishing those in that particular area is going to be the rocks that are there. And that's what they're going to cruise between. We've had plenty of people land them with braid out there, but one thing to keep in mind, I don't care which braid brand it is, that braid, as soon as it rubs up against a rock, is going to have a hard time and it's going to most likely snap. So we do recommend putting a top shot on that reel, and we leave it up to the angler to decide. Some people just tie an 18-inch leader. A lot of cases, if we have it set up in a way we like it to be set up, we'll put 50 feet where the fluorocarbon leader on the end of that rod. So it does two things. Not only does it provide better abrasion resistance if you are rubbing against not only rocks, but if you're fishing around piers or bridge pylons or where docks are, if that braid rubs up against that, a lot of times it has a tendency just to snap. But if you use the fluorocarbon, you may have seen it, but sometimes it just gets a rub mark.
Or have like a little nick in it, or a little fray. Or fray.
Yeah,
or
it's
nick
a
in
fray
it.
filling whenever it rubs, but you don't lose your fish. And so, again, offshore is another area. We do that heavily. I personally won't strictly mono up until the leader, and then that leader material, whichever way I'm fishing it.
I like the opposite. I like braid because of the stretch. When you're deep, going down 100 feet, people don't realize how much that monofilament line actually stretches and how much you have to move that rod tip in order to get that hook to move that far down deep in the water. Like you might have to move your rod a good 6-7 feet up to make that hook move enough to set the hook if you're fishing 140 feet deep.
So that's a great point, too. And next week we're going to cover bottom fishing a little bit more at length. And everybody's fishing style's different, right? Again, in the Panhandle of Florida, I fished with 56 different captains in my 18 years. And it's interesting to see one captain will fish a particular way, and it works great for him. But if you go to another captain who has a different setup on his boat, the rod and reel are set up differently. You can tell the difference in, well, now I've got to listen to what this captain tells me because his gear is going to fish differently.
Right.
So, we get a lot of questions. Does gear make a difference? Well, it really does. And how you learn to fish is going to play a lot into that, and just by our nature. But the jetties, again, another great place to look at to fish this weekend. You can fish it by boat, or you can walk out there on the rocks, physically fish that. Caveman Rick mentioned something that to me is a hard task to do, and I've never caught a large one on the jetties. I've only caught about a 2-foot shark off the jetties, but I have seen and heard of people catching those 6 to 7 foot bull sharks that like to run in and out. And I don't know about you, but I have no interest in trying to land a shark.
Yeah, it's not for
sharp
me.
jagged
I've
sharp jagged teeth, sharp jagged rocks, not a good combination.
Probably the biggest shark I've landed is probably 3 foot, maybe slightly bigger than that. But honestly, I'm not looking for anything like that. Some people come down here, that's what they're looking for, is they just want to go home and brag. I caught this big fish. This shark was 7.5 foot long and probably weighed X amount of pounds and blah, blah, blah. So they got a big story. I've been fishing for a long time. I don't need need that. I just want to fish like, for some just quality trophy, like, game fish, like speckled trout, redfish.
The fun thing to do on the jetties is you can throw a spoon out there and you can catch Spanish mackerel all day long and just keep wheeling them in.
Yeah.
Right. And then just one after another. And that's like, so if you're taking a buddy out there, that's from out of town, but you're in town and you want to just let them catch some fish. Like, that's the thing to do.
Yeah.
Like, so if my dad's in town, like, I'll take him to spots where I know we might not catch all these trophy fish.
Right.
But we're going to catch some fish, and he's going to have some fun.
Yep.
Yeah. That's a great point, Adam. Going to those consistently productive spots, and there's going to be something there. Let's talk about probably, in my opinion, maybe one of the least underrated fish or undiscussed fish that you can catch at the jetties. And that's the mangrove snapper.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
My favorite eating.
Absolutely. There we go. Like, if I'm going to eat any fish that I typically catch inshore, I love eating redfish, but man, if you have to scale, if you have to clean one of the larger ones, what a pain in the butt that can be. Mm-hmm. And but those mangrove snapper in that 14, 15 inch range are perfect.
That's nice.
And
it's a nice Sammy.
I call them sandwich snappers. That's it. And but it's probably one of the most least talked about.
Very elusive fish to catch.
Elusive. That's a great point. That's exactly what we covered in the summer. We recorded a minute ago, and you didn't even hear it. And so I appreciate the segue. But
no worries.
That's the mangrove snapper. You want to keep it very simple when you go to catch those. And we like to see a small hook, so like a number 2 size hook. And if you can find that number 2 in a 2X, so that's a double size or a double strength hook. Mm-hmm. All that means is the wire size where they use to make that hook is thicker.
Like a thicker gauge.
Exactly.
Gauge.
It's going to be twice as thick. They also make them up to a 4X. But on these, I would use a number 2X hook. And I would use about 24 inches worth of leader. I personally like a disappearing pink. There's a couple different brands that make that particular color. And then put you a small split shot about 8 inches above your hook. And then just free line your shrimp out there.
And only enough weight to get it to like whatever depth you're looking to get it down to.
Yep. And that's the depth part is an excellent point. So what you do is you start your depth up a little bit higher. What those fish like to do is school up in those rocks that are in the jetties. So you start your shrimp higher up in the water column and then loosen your drag a little bit, start pulling it out, and they've got initially like a small little nibble before they hook. And they'll bump, and then usually they're on. And so when they hook on, all you've got to do is remember how far that depth was, and just keep dropping to that same depth. And the next thing you know, you'll have a cooler full of.
It's kind of like crappie fishing for freshwater fishing.
Exactly.
Where you find that depth, and once you got that depth in that target area, it makes it a lot simpler. I also would say, too, if you're going to try to catch them, because they have really good eyesight. That's why he's talking about using that pink, leader material, small hook, little split shot weight. Go at night, like on a new moon, when it's completely dark, there's no moon out. Excuse me. They can't see as good, and it makes it a hell of a lot easier to catch those fish.
So, the mangrove snapper make great sandwiches.
And you know what? Honestly, cut the heads off, cut the tail off, descale them, gut them. You can throw them right on the grill right there, just like that.
10 inches is the limit. The size. Minimum size limit, I believe, right now. And I think what's the bag, like five maybe right now still,
5. But that's the beauty thing. That's the beautiful thing about these mangroves. When you prepare them, when you clean them, just get rid of the excess.
Yeah.
And then you can throw them right on the grill right there and eat the skin. The skin is probably my favorite part of the mangrove. It's delicious.
You catch them here in the bay. Like, to catch red snapper, you pretty much got to go offshore unless you find a few places that are deep in the bay where there's enough structure that hold them. There's a few places.
They do. They really do.
But it's hard to find.
Yeah.
But those mangrove snappers are the same as like a red snapper, like same taste, same whatever, but a lot more easily accessible. You don't have to go 10 miles offshore.
Justin Lassiter says every time y'all start talking about fishing, it's hard not to load up and head out to the water.
That's what we
want.
want.
The whole point of this segment, Justin. Appreciate you, man.
Hashtag fishing revival right there.
Go get them fired up. Tackle before you go, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Come by the shop, and we are pressing up against time. I do want to mention this small craft advisory right now. through tomorrow morning. So we got a north wind coming in. The bay's going to be a little bit choppy. Probably wouldn't be a fun time to try to make it out.
Good for surf fishing. It'll lay that surf down that north wind.
There you go.
Right.
Question, any specials going on at Bay Breeze Bait and Tackle this weekend for Memorial Day?
Well, I had a great group come in, and they said, man, our friend Litton, who's a neighbor there at the shop, said he sent us in and said you had a big sale going on. I said, you see all the product in this shop? They're all big sales.
All for sale, baby.
And I said, every one of them's a big sale. Product highlight this week, though, is not necessarily a sell item. It's become our most popular item over the past week and a half. We started stocking those Shibumi shades. Have y'all seen those?
I like the name, though, Shibumi.
Shibumi. And that's half the fun.
That's going to be my new catchword or catchphrase for Mosley. Shibumi! He just got laid out.
Matt Olson hits a home run. Shibumi!
So rather than somebody, obviously our number one call is for bait, period, right? But this is the first product we've ever brought into shop, and we brought over 8,000 items in now. This is the first product we've ever brought in where people call up consistently every day saying, we see you're a dealer for this product. Do you have it in stock? And we're like, yeah. And so we become a big fan of these ourselves. We take them out. We've set them up, used it on the beach. It's literally like parachute fabric. They make it 40% of the material is made out of recyclable plastic. It has one set of poles that you quick connect together, and you put that in the sand, and the wind coming off the sea breeze is what provides the shade.
So you don't got to lug around those big tents or anything. Just go get your Shibumi shade.
It's less than 3 pounds in your hand.
Yeah.
And it's they boast 2 minutes, 2 people, 2 minutes, complete setup. And it's that easy. It really is. I've done it. My shop employees have done it. My fiance's taking one out to the beach with her this weekend. I mean, it's just it's one of those products that's neat.
Yeah.
So we do get asked about pricing, $270 for the large. And we have a mini in stock. That mini runs around $190.
And just letting you guys know, I'm looking at it right here. You can't even get that on Amazon for that price. So Bay Breeze Bait and Tackles, where to go. Tim, hit us with a recap of the fishing summary.
Yeah, those that want to enjoy an extended weekend, if you get the opportunity to have that day off, you ought to count your blessings because the bay is going to be choppy today, tomorrow, and Sunday. However, Sunday we have diminishing. Coming on into Monday. Monday is looking glorious. And it's supposed to be, in my report, I have Mondays looking like a glorious redemptive day to get out.
There you go.
So if you get tired of the in-laws, the outlaws, the family, whomever, and you want to take a break, grab 1 or 2 of them, take them with you, split the group up, and go fishing. It'll be a great weekend for it.
Take the kids.
I love it. Hey, Tim, as always, thank you so much. Can't wait to have you back next Friday at 4:20. I've already got 2 questions that have rolled in for next week, so we'll dive into those whenever we have time next week. Thanks again. That's Tim Braddock with Bay Breeze Bait and Tackle. We're going to take a quick time out. We'll return with our traffic jam and trivia.
West Florida is already your home for the most live and local sports talk. And now we're taking...
Oh, he got all of that one.
The Inside Drive. Ryan Mulvey, middays, 11 to 1 inside the Bill Kramer Chevrolet Buick GMC and Kramer Marine Outdoor Studios. The latest reactions to the biggest stories happening right now. Plus, interviews, sports betting, and your calls.
You got to be pleased with that.
On ESPN Northwest Florida.
Good afternoon. This is Joanna with your latest forecast on ESPN Northwest Florida. The remainder of the day, partly cloudy and a temperature of 79 with a 13 to 17 miles per hour wind out of the northeast. Mostly clear skies tonight, a gentle breeze and cool near 65. Sunny and 78 tomorrow. 77 and sunshine with a light breeze Sunday. Monday, mostly sunshine and temperature about the same at 81. This is your Friday's weather brought to you by Ellis Agency Insurance. Thank you for tuning into ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Young Cycle across from FedEx Mosley Drive in Lynn Haven has a fantastic selection of pre-owned Harleys at great prices. Great prices. Don't buy a Harley until you stop by Young Cycle. Young Cycle. A full service department is available too, offering motor trike conversions, parts, and accessories. Nothing compares to Harley-Davidson and the low prices on pre-owned Harleys at Young Cycle. Young Cycle, 112 Mosley Drive across from FedEx in Lynn Haven.
Los Rancheros has been doing it right for 20 years. Los Rancheros brings a top-shelf dining experience to you with the opening of their beautiful new building. Watch all college and pro games on Los Rancheros' 14 large-screen TVs with great drink specials daily from 2 to 5 and during all the games. Los Rancheros, the place for live sports and great food on 23rd Street between Jenks and Harrison.
ESPN Northwest Florida. The tradition continues.
It is a walk-off home run for Sean Murphy into the Braves bullpen.
Now back to the Afternoon Underdogs.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
And we're back. You're riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. You're tuned in to ESPN Northwest Florida. It's 104.3 Panama City, 102.1 in Marietta, and 101.9 in Port St. Joe. We're the Afternoon Underdogs. I'm David Hayes, along with Caveman Rick, Adam Goff, and Bone Crusher. Thank you guys for all of your text and comments. Big shout out to Keith Thimmich for listening, Justin Lassiter for all of the comments as well. We're going to be talking with Doug Hardwick here in the next segment for a little bit, getting caught up on what's going on at the Indy 500, or at the raceway there, the Indianapolis Speedway. So we got a little piece of breaking news. Before we get to that, I want to ask the trivia question. You can give us a call, 850-215-6290. Who holds the Braves franchise record with 5 opening day victories? Is it Warren Spahn, Rick Mahler, Tom Glavine, or Greg Maddux? 850-215-6290 for your chance to win $25 to the Break Room, who sponsors the Braves Update. The Braves got a W last night, 8-5. A very fun game to watch. Even if you're a Phillies or a Braves fan, right? Because, yes, it didn't work out in the favor of the Phillies last night. It did work out for the Braves, but there's a lot of back and forth. 2-run shot this way. Oh, here comes Bryce Harper. Yeah. A lot of fun home runs. Again, the Braves Update brought to you by The Break Room. Today's special is air fried chicken, and on the weekends you always have wings for just $1. $12, drink and your side. Not for the weekend wings, but for if you were to go there to The Break Room today, air fried chicken, that's $12. You get your drink and you get your side with that. But yeah, Braves beating the Phillies last night, 8-5. Austin Riley kind of breaking out of that slump along with Marcell Ozuna right now, that's kind of more impressive. And no one's giving Michael Harris, which dealing with injuries, but no one's given Michael Harris half the flack of what Marcell Ozuna was dealing with. And he's brought that average all the way up to 222, which is above the Mendoza line. And he's got 10 home runs. That to me is like, it's one of those things, it's give and take. But, I mean, these guys these
Imagine
days.
the Braves lineup going in, or imagine going into the season as a Braves fan and saying, okay, Ozuna's going to hit 200, but he's going to have 30 home runs.
Yeah.
And he's going to drive in 70 runs.
Yeah.
I think every Braves fan takes that. Because right now he's on pace for it. So,
and especially we're talking about a guy who's either designated hitting or playing the platoon role of left field, because he's not that great of a defender, no doubt about it. The Braves now have a 5.5 game lead over the New York Mets. And tonight it's going to be Taijuan Walker, who's 3-2 with an ERA of 5.79, 42 strikeouts, 22 walks, going up against the Braves' Jared Schuster, who's 1-2 with an ERA of 5.49, 15 strikeouts, and 12 walks. Again, there's a pretty big differential there in the amount of innings pitched for both pitchers here. But we'll see how it plays out. What do you think is going to go down tonight, K-Man?
I hope we're going to win, man. We need to gain some ground on you guys. It's a perfect opportunity for us to, actually, put a dent in the deficit that we're in. I mean, best way to do that's playing a team that you're trying to catch, So hopefully they can win this one. Last night, like you said, it was a good game. A lot of fireworks, back and forth. Lost kind of a close one. I mean, the Phillies were in it until about the 8th inning, and then that's when it kind of got away from them. 3 runs there. Made it a little tough to come back in the last couple innings. It always seems, lately anyways, Phillies and Braves have been playing close to Mother's Day in a series.
Yeah.
2 years ago, I went up there and watched a series. It was right after COVID when they started letting 100% capacity at all the stadiums. It also was when I was on Sunday Night Baseball, and kind of crazy enough, who's on Sunday Night Baseball this week?
Yeah, they are on Sunday Night Baseball.
So there you go.
Big 3 more games left in that series. You got tonight's game, tomorrow's game.
That would have been perfect. If we could win all
Sundays.
4 and make 4 games up on you guys, God, that would have been so nice.
Yeah, because y'all would only be 4 games back.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's half of the deficit.
Yeah, you could get to 5, which is, that's 25% of the Phillies games are against the Braves or the Mets moving forward, which is, that's a lot of divisional games, especially when you don't play, 13 divisional games that you play these days?
They're ahead of you right now, so that's great.
As
long as you win them.
Yeah, as long as you win them. A little bit of Braves on this day real quick, and then we'll talk a little bit about the Reds as well, and then the breaking news out of the University of Georgia. Harvey Haddix back in 1959 on this day retires the first 36 batters that he faced against the Milwaukee Braves before losing the perfect game in the 13th when Felix Mantilla reaches on an error. Haddix walked Hank Aaron intentionally and then allowed an apparent 3-run home run to Joe Adcock. Adcock passed Aaron on the base paths, and the homer is called a double as Mantilla scores the winning run. Lou Burdett goes the distance to pick up the win. I was not alive around then, so I can't really tell you much more other than thanks to the battery power for providing these. 1969, Hank Aaron hits his 500th career double, becoming only the 3rd major league player with 500 doubles and 500 home runs in their career. And then in 2016, the MLB suspends Hector Oliveira for 82 games following a domestic violence incident in April. Later on today, when we get into our local
He's probably
segment,
listening, going, "Why you got to bring up that?"
Yeah, it's like, hey, don't blame me, man. I'm just researching. So a little bit. Let's dive into your Reds.
How come it's only that one? Why didn't you bring up Ozuna again? it's only one.
Because that didn't happen on this day. Yeah. We got to wait.
It's only one Brave, I guess. But you know what I'm saying?
Talk a little bit about your Reds. Finally a much needed good start, quality start from Hunter Green.
It's 2 in a row, actually.
Oh, 2 in a row. Okay, all right. That's my bad.
He got the loss in his previous, but it wasn't because of him or how him pitching poorly. So it's 2 big starts in a row for him. He went 6 innings, 11 Ks, 2 walks, no hits. Reds ended up giving up 2 hits today. They won 9-0 over Max's Chicago Cubs.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, Maxie. But they're starting to play some really, really good baseball. Again, I'm not saying that they're going to be there come September, but the future's looking bright. Ellie De La Cruz is on a tear right now in Louisville. Christian Encarnacion Strand continues to do really, really good things. An unheralded prospect named TJ Hopkins is an outfielder. He's hitting over 300 right now. He's driving in runs. And then Matt McClain. Matt McClain has been up for about a week now. He's hitting over 300. He's got an on base of about 400 and OPS close to 1,000. And he's just electrifying to watch. He's been a really, really good burst of energy, I think, for that ball club. And, as a Reds fan who's suffered through so many bad years, I don't think this is going to be a bad year. I don't think it's going to be a great year. But we're going to find it somewhere in between. But as Reds fans, we're so impatient to get to the future and see Ellie De La Cruz, who's now the number 1 prospect in all of baseball, and see Christian Encarnacion Strand and all this young talent that we've acquired through the draft and trades and whatnot come up to the big leagues and put a winning product on the field. But I don't think this is our year. You know what I mean? So we've got to have patience. We got to trust the process, let it happen. But who's to say that, you bring up these kids after the Super 2 happens on June 2nd, I think is the cutoff, is the date on that, where it's 22% of minor leaguers are brought up to the league, then you don't lose your second year of arbitration, which is where I think the Reds are right now with Ellie as well as Strand. They're waiting on that kind of mark to get hit. And then you're going to see a lot of young talent come up in baseball this year. that not a lot of people are talking about. Colton Cowser for the Orioles.
Even the Reds updates are boring, man. I'm just kidding.
But Colton Cowser for the Orioles is going to be a monster. Marcelo Mayer for the Red Sox. You've got a kid out there in Arizona named Jordan Lawler, who is potentially going to get the call up come June, July. So baseball's future is bright. The Reds' future is bright. I'm looking forward to it.
I can't wait for it, man. If you had the Drew Jones card, would you? They had a poll. Yeah, the 1 of 1. They had a poll on the Athletic Pulse. Would you give it away for $100 million, $10 million, or just $1 million?
Well, I mean, right now there's a $250,000 bounty on it.
I know, but
and then if you hold the card,
right?
If you hold the card and he makes it to the Hall of Fame, the bounty then goes to $1 million.
What's the chances of that, though?
It's. I mean, he's hurt right now.
I would take the money.
Now.
I would take the 250
because it's like, if
what if someone offered you a Billy? I mean, not a Billy, a Millie.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
but I'm saying the asking price right now, the value of that card because of the bounty is $250.
All right, that's going to do it for us in this hour of the Afternoon Underdogs. Keep it locked into ESPN Northwest Florida, and we're going to be right back for hour number 2, and we'll lead it off talking to Doug Hardwick out there at the Indy 500.
Come on vacation.
Summer vacation. Hey, how's your vacation going?
Leave on probation.
Sheriff's deputies in Panama City Beach arresting 161 people during an out-of-control spring break weekend.
Welcome to the Emerald Coast. Have a great time at the beautiful beaches, but not like end up in the back of a police cruiser great. A friendly reminder from 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
Good afternoon. This is Joanna with your latest forecast on ESPN Northwest Florida. The remainder of the day, partly cloudy and a temperature of 79 with a 13 to 17 miles per hour wind out of the northeast. Mostly clear skies tonight, gentle breeze and cool near 65. Sunny and 78 tomorrow. 77 and sunshine with a light breeze Sunday. Monday, mostly sunshine and temperature about the same at 81. This is your Friday's weather brought to you by Ellis Agency Insurance. Thank you for tuning into ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Are you tired of hearing 2 weeks when you call to get your boat worked on? Hey folks, it's Chris Kramer with Kramer Marine and Outdoor, and we'll get you in and back out on the water as quick as possible. We're a full-line Yamaha outboard dealer and Suzuki outboard dealer, and we have master-trained certified mechanics on site. So if it's just an annual service, electronics install, trolling motor install, or all the way up to a full repower, we can take care of you. So stop by and see us in the corner of Frankfurt and 23rd next to Bill Kramer GM, or call us at 850-851-0453.
Golf is a game that should be fun, but to have the most fun, you need to play your best. That's where the experts at Golf Plus come in. Their friendly staff will guide you through the buying process, answer all your questions, and can help with any repairs you need along the way. Golf Plus is your custom fitting, club repair, and golf retail shop. Golf Plus staff is non-commissioned and will work with you to find the best product for your game, just like they've been doing since 1988. Golf Plus in Dothan and Panama City Beach. Fitting, repair, retail. That's Golf Plus.
WGSX Lynn Haven, WTOT, W271DM Mariana, WVLQ Port St. Joe, ESPN Northwest Florida.
Behind some strong defense, clutch pitching, and a booming offense, this 2023 Brave squad is reminding the league who they are.
A 1-2 from Strider. Take a hike. Swung on and missed at a 100-mile-an-hour fastball, and Spencer is locked in.
Tonight, it's Atlanta Braves baseball live from Truist Park in Atlanta as they clash with division rivals, the Philadelphia Phillies.
Coverage starts tonight at 6. First pitch, 6:20 on your home for the Atlanta Braves on the Gulf Coast, ESPN Northwest Florida.
You're riding shotgun with the Afternoon Underdogs. We're going to need some gas money. The Afternoon Underdogs.
Fill her up, please.
At 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
It's hour number 2 of the Afternoon Underdogs. You're listening to ESPN Northwest Florida 104.3, Panama City 102.1. The signal is strong all the way from Mariana to Dothan 101.9 on the Forgotten Coast in Port St. Joe. We're the Afternoon Underdogs. I'm David Hayes along with Adam Goff, AG, Caveman Rick, and Bone Crusher. Lots of great things happening in the world of sports. It is Memorial Day weekend, so make sure that you take some time out of your holiday to think about the reason for the season, if you will, the reason for the holiday, the freedoms that we enjoy these days. We do have Doug Hardwick on the line with us all the way up there in Indianapolis at the Indy 500. Doug, what's going on? It's been a while, buddy.
Hey, going green next time by. You guys be up here for the race. How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. So what are some things we should be looking for in the latest installment of the Indianapolis 500?
Well, I'll tell you, Dave, there's a lot of exciting things. First of all, this is the fastest field in the history of the Indianapolis 500. It is the fastest front row in the history of the Indianapolis 500. And a lot of people don't know it, but it's the fastest actual qualifying speed for pole in the history of the 500 because Arie Luyendyk's record run was on the second day of qualifying and was not a pole run. So it's going to be exciting. There's a lot of good cars in here. Fortunately, had the crash with Catherine Legge and Stefan, and Stefan has been replaced by Graham Rahal, who was bumped out of the race. So a lot of neat things going to happen Sunday.
And such a big weekend in the world of racing with all these crown jewels, the Monaco Grand Prix, the Indy 500, the Coke 600. What sets the Indy 500 apart?
Well, I think more and more people recognize that, yeah, it's a race, but we honor the veterans here in Indianapolis for Memorial Day. Yeah, there's a race, but we're all about honoring our veterans prior to the race, marching them down the track. It's just a beautiful thing. I know they do it at other places, but here in Indianapolis, it's always been like that. The veterans get in free to the race. It just it means a lot here in Indianapolis and for the sport. But what sets us apart, 33 cars doing 235 mile an hour, taking a green flag. I don't think there's anybody else like that.
No doubt. What can we expect from the Gordon Pipers this year?
Oh, my. We've already logged in over 50 miles of marching at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway this May. And tomorrow we're in the third largest parade in the United States, the 500 Festival, and we're actually going to be on a float for the first time in the history of the band, which will be nice. Save a couple miles for race day. We'll be doing Saturday morning. We get out there. Sunday morning. Sunday morning we'll arrive at the Speedway about 5:40 a.m. and we'll start the trophy march for the Borg Warner Trophy. It starts at the museum, and then we take it all the way around to the track and to Victory Lane, and it sits there and waits on the victor when he comes in to pick it up.
So at the top of the guys who are at the top of the list when it comes to the odds, Pato O'Ward, Alex Palou, and Scott Dixon, which one of those, or Alexander Rossi even, which one of those guys should we keep our eyes on and maybe venture into thinking about those odds?
Well, I'll tell you somebody that I would really jump on odds with would be Ed Carpenter. I think he's like 40 to 1.
50 to 1, what I'm looking at.
Okay, 50 to 1. His stepdad used to own the track. He knows his way around. The guy sat on the pole there. He's just got it. I tell you, another car to really watch is the car that's in the middle of the front row, and he's a teammate of Ed Carpenter. It's Renus VK. This kid is fast. He was fast last year. Of course, Palou, he's been sniffing around last year as well. He could have won that race. So I think all of them, for an American driver, you look at Rossi. I think he's got a good chance with McLaren. McLaren's got a great lineup with the four drivers. And then, Penske, he kind of fell off there. For some reason, they haven't qualified well here at Indianapolis the last couple of years. And, you got Joseph Newgarden starting mid-pack, I think 14th. I'd look out for the front row guys. I would say those are the guys to really look out for. Scott Dixon's always great. It's just it's hard to think that nobody in this field is slow enough to not win this race. Every one of these cars, all 33 of them, could win this race from the positions they're starting in. It's just such a competitive field.
Hey, Doug, AG here. We appreciate you coming on with us. We know it's short notice, but as a spectator, if you've never been to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, what's the best seat in the house for this race?
Well, best seat in the house is the spotter stand up in turn one. I spotted there for Billy Rowe back a few years Best seat in the house is in the pagoda up on the 10th floor. You can see the whole track all the way around. If you're just a fan coming in to buy a ticket, you want to be somewhere in Stand E or what they call the Southwest Vista, which is in entrance of Turn 1. But if you like pit action, you sit in the Tower Terrace, so those seats are inexpensive. You get to see all the pit action, start-finish line. But just about every seat in the house is pretty good there.
Yeah, hey Doug, this is K-Man Rick. To piggyback off of Adam's question, I have something to kind of go along with that. I was just looking here recently and seeing ticket prices are actually fairly affordable for the Indianapolis 500. I guess comparable to most other sporting events. I was seeing some of them, starting at about $50 before service fees and whatnot. As far as like concessions, parking, other things like that you would spend money on, how is that in comparison to ticket prices?
Well, general admission, I still believe is only $30 to get in the infield for this race. Food prices are kind of normal like any other sporting event. In our bagpipe band, we allow our players for the day $30, which the Speedway gives what are called brickyard bucks that are good at the concession stands. And $30, they get you a hamburger, French fries, Coke, maybe a adult beverage, but that's about $30. And with your ticket, if you bought general admission, so you're going to be under $75 if you go in general admission. You get a real good seat, you could spend $500-600.
Right on.
Who would be what would be the best storyline, or which driver would create the best storyline with a win at the Indy 500?
This year would be Tony Kanaan. He's retiring. It's his last race, so that would be a big storyline. Scott Dixon winning his second race. I mean, he's probably the most prolific driver in the series right now, and he's only won the race one time. And, of course, Spider-Man, Helio Castroneves, if he would happen to win it the fifth time, that would be the story of the year. I mean, nobody's ever won this race 5 times. So there's a lot of stories that are out there cooking right now. The one I would like to see is nobody's won from 33rd before.
Oh, so would that be Graham Rahal?
That would be Graham Rahal, yes. And he would. The story to that would be he's driving a Chevy and he's a Honda driver, or he's driving a Honda and he's a Chevy driver. I think it's Chevy and a Honda driver. So the 2 engine manufacturers made concessions so he could fill in for Stefan after his, Justin after his crash. Stefan, I'm sorry.
I want to see someone from that same row there, but sitting at 30, Stingray Robb, just for that name, man, that would be great.
He's a Florida kid.
Oh, there you go.
He's a Florida kid. Yeah, Stingray Robb's a Florida kid, and he's really well-liked around here. Anybody with a name like that's going to be well-liked in the IndyCar community. It's kind of like old Racing Gardner and, stuff like that. But, yeah, Stingray Robb, I'd love to see him come in there. Ferrucci for A.J. Foyt in the 14 car, Santino Ferrucci, he would be that would be a very popular win with everybody. He's the ex-Formula 1 test driver. So, yeah, I always say, and I say it with tongue-in-cheek, anybody but Penske. He's won it 18 times.
So, Doug, is there anybody in the field that we know that may be lactose intolerant that might not be drinking milk after they win?
I saw the request for the bottles of milk, and I did not see there's some with whole, there's some with 2%, there's one with...
So anybody with chocolate?
Strawberry. Yeah, chocolate. The first one in 19, I think it was 34, was buttermilk. I can't imagine driving 500 miles wanting buttermilk.
On a hot summer day in Indianapolis?
Yeah, nothing more refreshing than a nice glass or bottle of buttermilk.
With some cornbread. Mash it all together, baby.
Shake it up a little bit, and then you can chew your milk up as you drink it.
Yeah, by the time you get to it, it's cottage cheese. Right, exactly.
Well, I made the mistake one time with some raw chocolate milk, shaking it up like you normally do regular chocolate milk. And my wife's like, stop it. And I'm like, shut up, whatever. And she's like, no, quit. And I'm like, no, whatever. And then she's like, you're making butter. And I'm like, no, I'm not. And then she's like, yeah, you are. And I opened the lid up and I poured it in a glass and it's blump, 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 blump. And I ate some chocolate butter as I was drinking it, the milk.
That sounds like a down on the farm story there, my friend.
Right on.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
That is.
So, but I'll be in victory lane with 3 other bagpipers waiting on the winning car to come in under the tradition that we started back in 1967, is that 4 pipers denote the car coming back safely on 4 wheels. So that's a tradition we continue. I will be one of the 4 pipers, and probably one of the chaps coming down from Ingersoll, Ontario, Canada will be the other piper, and we'll pick 2 others from the Gordon pipers to go with us. So.
Cool. Yeah, so I think, what did we meet about 2 years ago, Doug?
Yeah.
And ever since then, I think I know for a fact that I've watched the Indy 500 before then, but now it's like one of those things where, hey, the Indy 500, I'm going to be watching the Indy 500, and I owe a lot of that to you, Doug, and to Greg Calver. And I don't want to look past 2023, but with 2024 and Kyle Larson coming over there, is there a lot of excitement in the Indy world for Kyle Larson to be running in the Indy 500 next year?
Oh, you bet. I mean, the fact that they're putting that together with Zach Brown over at McLaren, I've known Zach since he had Zach Attack here in Indianapolis as a driving school before he became the Formula One boss. That whole thing has got the buzz going. Of course, when Kyle Larson's coming, that makes everybody else think, well, should we go too?
Yeah.
So we're not sure who all's going to try and make the jump over the river into Indianapolis next year, but we know Kyle Larson's exciting. I have to tell you, I win a lot of money gambling on Kyle Larson.
Hey,
I got right now. I got $50 on Palu to win the Indy 500. He pays $400.
There you go, man.
I mean, when I worked for Ganassi, those guys were so solid. I mean, you can't count Chip out on anything. And he's got 4 strong drivers in the field. And he won last year. So, yeah. Yeah, this is going to be an exciting race, you guys. Watch that first lap, watch that last lap, because it's going to be exciting. It's kind of like NASCAR right now in IndyCar on the big tracks. When you get out of that train, you go back to the long end of the longest line. So on that last lap, the 5 guys that are up there together, who knows who's going to win that race? I don't think it'll be a runaway. So.
I love it, man. Well, Doug, thanks so much for giving us some of your time, and I look forward to seeing you in Victory Lane, whoever the winner may be, come Sunday.
It don't matter because I won't be there, brother.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm just looking for Doug. That's all I care about, man. Or someone to try to climb the fence like Helio did, 2 years ago?
Oh, well, that was great. But 2 years ago, they were only doing 1/4 of the crowd because of the COVID was still around. So they had one bagpiper, right? And that was me.
The solo piper.
And I stood down there playing the bagpipes for 45 minutes while Monkey Man was out there climbing on the fence. Okay? Waiting on that car to come in Victory Lane. When they finally pushed it in there, hell, I was tuckered, man. I could barely breathe at that point.
Doug, I saw this thing on Facebook not too long ago where a guy took a harmonica and he blew up a balloon, and it was like a poor man's bagpipe or something like that, and he would use the balloon to play the harmonica.
Well, that wasn't me. Okay?
No, 100%. I'm just saying it made me think of you because of the bagpipes. That's all.
And a harmonica and a balloon? Come on, David. What's going on here?
I don't know. It's probably something to do down here.
I play bagpipes.
Yes, sir. It's probably just one of those Florida man pieces of news. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it is. It is. But, I'll be coming down your way here in about a month, and I'll stop in and say hello to everybody. I can't wait to get down to the Emerald Coast again, I'm telling you.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely text me, man. We're in a new location, but we're still right here in Panama City.
Sounds great. Great.
Yes, sir. Take care, Doug. Thanks so much for giving us some of your time again.
Have a great Memorial weekend down in Florida, guys. Good talking to you. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. Thanks, you do the same. That is Doug Hardwick. He is a Gordon Piper, the Gordon Piper, and he's up there at the Indianapolis 500. And he will not be ejected, but Aaron Boone has been fantastic at being ejected to this point in the season. He was ejected last night for the 4th time this year. It's this is Boone's MLB leading 4th ejection of the season, the 30th of his 6-year managerial career. He led all of baseball last year with 9, and he co-led the American League in 2021 with 6. So my question to you guys is, and I'm going to look up how many the all-time leader in Bobby Cox has, but if he's a manager long enough, do you think he'll get there? And how do you feel about Aaron Boone and his ejections?
I like Aaron Boone. I mean, he's a former Red. He's fiery. I think he does a pretty good job with with that roster. I mean, he's dealt with a lot of injuries over the last few years up there, and the Yankees have been. I don't want to say close, but they've been on the cusp of getting over that hump. The way he handled Aaron Judge last year, having that phenomenal season. He gets ejected. Like I said, he's fiery. He gets worked up. I don't think he's half as close to being as dramatic as Tommy Lasorda used to be, or even Pete Rose for that matter.
Right.
But I think he picks his spots, and I think he does it over stuff that he feels like he should be getting fired up on. And I think that's what a good manager does, because sometimes it takes your manager getting ejected for you to get your guys fired up.
Yeah, get that fire.
Sometimes it's a little much for me. He's using it as a tool a lot of times, too. It's a good way to fire up a team. Same way, like in hockey, a guy might go out and pick a fight, and try to get somebody to drop the gloves. It's a good way to get the team fired back up, get the crowd involved, if they're like, you guys are kind of slumping and not playing so great. Mm-hmm. So if you do it in the right spots, it can be helpful. But when you're kind of doing it, it kind of takes away from the game and just kind of making a scene, then, I don't like it. I think he does that a few too many times, but outside of that, I think he's decent. Considering being in New York, too, and having to deal with the media and the kind of stuff he's got to deal with, I guess it's all right. If George Steinbrenner wasn't around still, I don't think he'd be the manager of the Yankees, though.
All right, that's a good take. How many ejections do you think Bobby Cox had?
How many years was he there?
I think he managed 28 seasons.
28 seasons.
I'll say 148.
I'm going to go 82.
82. All right, Caveman, you're very close. But no cigar. 162.
Wow.
It's like getting ejected for every single game of a regular season. Yeah. That's amazing. The next closest is John McGraw.
So he only really coached 27 seasons, not 28, because he was suspended for a whole season.
That is so true, dude. John McGraw's in second with 121. My thing is I don't think, I think this is an unbreakable record, especially not too long from now. We're going to be getting to an automated strike system. Mm-hmm. Well, hopefully it's long from now. And, at that point, there is no arguing balls or strikes, so it's going to be really hard to get thrown out of a game.
Here's a question. How many seasons has Dusty Baker managed, and how many times has he been ejected?
Oh,
I don't know if you have that pulled up, but that dude's been around for a really, really long time.
Showalter's been ejected a good amount of times too, hasn't he?
Yeah, and Valentine's one of my favorites as well. But
none of those guys that you're talking about are even on the top five list. Tony La Russa is fifth with 93. Earl Weaver fourth with 96. Leo DeRocher with 100 at third, and then John McGraw 121. Bobby Cox a full 41 above second place there. That might be one of those unbreakable records, man.
Yeah, 100%. Just like Cal Ripken's games played streak.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt about it. And also the MLB has suspended Aaron Boone for one game, so he doesn't even have to get ejected for the next time.
Is that for the, what's the word I'm looking for? The
little spittle on the incidental.
Yeah, the incidental loogie.
The incidental spittle. Yeah, yeah. No, that's I'm pretty sure.
The Sylvester from Looney Tunes, the suffering succotash. Yeah. Getting that spit on him when he's yelling at him.
Recent conduct toward umpires. So it's actually not.
So it's a pattern of behavior.
Yeah, it's a pattern of behavior.
Recidivism.
Type deal.
Repeat offender.
Yeah, we're going to look up here Dusty Baker's ejections. We'll do that during the break, though, because we're getting rather close to it. Georgia, they have fired their head coach in Scott Strickland, who was with them for a decade and had a record of 299, 236, and one tie on that record. And then you wrote a note to me during the fishing report, but I wasn't able to read it.
Look for Dan McDonnell, the coach of Louisville baseball, to potentially go there. He had a little press conference after the season was over. They didn't finish quite how everybody expected them to, including himself. But he kind of threw some barbs at the university itself, in terms of like funding and things like that. So I mean, it wouldn't. I wouldn't be shocked if Dan McDonnell, who is one hell of a baseball coach, I wouldn't be shocked if he goes to a place like Georgia, because you got to think 299 and 236 in the SEC. That's dang good.
Oh, yeah. Over a decade? Absolutely. Justin Lassiter pertaining to Aaron Boone says he's John Boy material for lip reading videos often, and he absolutely is. And it's absolutely time for us to run to another break. You're listening to the Afternoon Underdogs. Find out where we think DeAndre Hopkins is going next.
ESPN Northwest Florida, the sports talk monster on the Gulf Coast. Let's go! Destin, Panama City, and Mexico Beach. Listen on 104.3. In the Mariana, Chipley, and Bonifay area, hear us on 102.1.
Swing, line drive, left center field, and stop!
And now, Port St. Joe, Apalachicola, and Weewa. It's 101.9. We have Northwest Florida covered. It's ESPN Northwest Florida.
Good evening. This is Joanna with your latest forecast on ESPN Northwest Florida. For tonight, mostly clear and a low of 65 with an 8 to 12 miles per hour wind out of the east-northeast. Sunshine tomorrow morning, a gentle breeze and warm near 73. Sunny and 78 in the afternoon and evening. 77 and sunshine with a light breeze Sunday. Monday, mostly sunshine and temperature about the same at 81. This is your Friday's weather sponsored by Mid-South Lumber, the best little lumber yard in Panama City. Thank you for keeping that dial at ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
At Bay Breeze Bait and Tackle, you can find all the necessary items for an unforgettable fishing experience. From pin rods and reels to the best hand-tied rigs in Florida, we have it all. With the help of our friendly and knowledgeable staff, you can be sure that you have the right gear to make that big catch. Come experience a great local bait and tackle shop located directly off 98 on the west end of Panama City Beach, located just 5 miles west of Pier Park.
You know the break room for the best pool tables in Bay County. But did you know they now serve delicious food? Check out the break room's daily lunch and dinner specials like spaghetti and meatballs, meatloaf with mashed potatoes, air-fried chicken, and more. Plus the best burgers, hot dogs, and you gotta try the Sammy of the day. The break room on Panama City Beach at the corner of Joan Avenue and North Lagoon. For more information, check them out on Facebook.
Chef Ross here. We're open daily at 11 at the break room.
We don't sell the steak.
You can stir this all up.
We sell the sizzle. Now back to the Afternoon Underdogs.
Very spicy.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
It's not the morning show, but we're cooking you up some bacon right here on the Afternoon Underdogs. You're listening to ESPN Northwest Florida, 104.3 in Panama City, 102.1 in Mariana, and 101.9 the Forgotten Coast, Port St. Joe. Your Atlanta Braves coming up tonight right after the Afternoon Underdogs. Coverage starting at 6. First pitch, 6:20. Taiwan Walker going up against Jared Schuster. ESPN Northwest Florida presents the Blast at Bay Point. You could win a round of 18 at the legendary Bay Point Golf Club on the Nicholas course in beautiful Panama City Beach. You just got to keep listening to ESPN Northwest Florida for more details. We do have 3 fantastic local shows here on our station. The Coach James Hale Show, Monday through Fridays from 7 to 9 a.m. The Inside Drive with Ryan Mulvey and Jay Henley from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. And then right back here at 4 p.m. Mondays through Fridays, running until 6 with the Afternoon Underdogs. We will not be in on Monday, but we will have a best of show for the Inside Drive and for the Afternoon Underdogs. The Coach James Hale Show is going to be split up into the first hour, Keyshawn, Jay, Will, and Max. The second hour will be Dan Patrick.
Best of Inside Drive is like a week's worth of episodes.
What's that? No, they got like 4.
No, it's
4
been like
weeks
3 or 4 weeks. But I'm just saying that it's a short-lived show, but that's
you know what
crazy,
though?
There's a lot of moments in there. Though.
There's a lot of moments, and they actually have more recordings on that computer than we do. So.
Wow, that's pretty nuts.
Well, no, it's just one of those things too. But I was putting those together, and there's a lot to pull from, man. And they got some, I just like the difference in our 3 local shows. That's one of my favorite things about it.
Well, you figure 10 hours a week, times 3 or 4 weeks. Yeah, it's a good amount of content.
You're not going to tune into Coach Hale and then tune into Ryan and the Inside Drive, and you're not going to hear the same stuff. You'll hear little snippets here and there,
of course.
But every show has its own
identity.
Exactly, 100%. So that's the thing I love. So you get a great variety, and it's not just going through a car wash, if you will, where it's just the same thing over and over again.
So what we have set up here for 520 is AG and Caveman Rick, we're talking about crazy batting stances in Major League Baseball. And Caveman didn't mimic. What was your batting stance?
Just a normal batting stance. I didn't care. I didn't follow stuff like, I want to go out there and try to swing or look like so-and-so standing at the plate. That just never appealed to me, I guess, when I was a kid. Didn't look at it that way.
All right, so we're going to start off with the ones we emulated, and then we'll go into just crazy batting stances. So for me, number 5. My number 1 I'll get to, but I'll start with number 5, and I'll say sometimes for things and giggles, I not necessarily. I just love Chuck Knobloch's. You know what I mean? And so that
just
would
don't
more or less,
emulate his throw to first.
Yeah, no doubt. And it wasn't something that I would ever use in actual games. Our coach would always get mad. Our coach would get mad at us if you you know what I mean. He would coach us and
straighten up.
Yeah, like
you're
hey,
goofing
look,
around. You're not taking the game seriously.
well, right. Everyone needs to have their own routine, and I disagree to an extent. I don't think that you should be using those in games, but if in batting practice, if something works better for you or whatnot, but you got to listen to coach's instruction first. Don't go off deviating and you know whatever your parents say or whatnot, which is one thing, but don't forget that the guy that's coaching you is probably volunteering, and you know what I mean. Like, so follow that instruction. I'm not saying don't listen to your parents afterwards or whatever, but my dad was always really good. He never coached me as far as the team goes, but we would work on things, but the first thing, it was always how the coach wanted to work. You know what I mean? And so my coaches and my dad always had good relationships through that as well, because my dad knew that the coaches meant well for us, and the coaches knew that our dad meant well for us, and not trying to undermine the coach in any way. Because you do get that sometimes where it's like, your coach doesn't know what he's talking about.
A lot of times now with these parents that think, their kids are the greatest at everything.
And then I forget which coach it was. He was, I believe he was a football coach. Could have been a basketball coach. But he was talking about, when his kid comes home complaining about his coach, he's like, don't complain to me about your coach. If you got, if he disrespected you or something like that, then maybe we can go have a conversation with him. But your coach knows what he's teaching you. You know what I mean? So
most of the time, too, players will say, later on down the road, I'm glad somebody coached me like that. He was a tough coach because it just made me a better player. If you get that easy coach to let you do whatever you want, you're probably not going to succeed.
Yeah, man. My favorite coaches, especially looking back, 2 of my favorite coaches passed away. But my favorite coaches were always the ones who were tough. You know what I mean? Like the guys who were always friendly and all of that good stuff. Not saying that they weren't friendly sometimes.
But it demands something out of you.
Yeah, exactly. Because I look back on it as like they pushed me, and they pushed me to be greater.
Accountable.
Yeah, exactly. Starting off with 5, I'll go Chuck Knobloch. What about for you, AG?
For me, it was Bip Roberts, which probably not a lot of people remember. He was a switch hitter. Started his career out in San Diego. He played a little bit in Cincinnati, but he always had a really, really kind of awkward stance. He was skinny, but it was similar to a Jeff Bagwell stance, but he was a little more spread open with his feet. But he was really kind of crouched down, so his strike zone was really, really small. So it was just a really, really fun one to kind of emulate back in the day.
We've got Justin Lassiter commenting. He says, Ken Griffey Jr. from the right side. Who didn't? I mean, that's the swing. That's the kid, man.
Right.
I love that, Justin Lassiter.
Should be the MLB logo, if you ask me.
I'm cool with that. Who is the MLB logo actually? Is that just like a
cardboard cutout?
Cardboard cutout.
I don't think it's like the NBA where it's Jerry West.
Jerry West, yeah. The MLB silhouettes. For me, number 4, I'm going to go with... Man, so he's got Gary Sheffield on his list, but I think Gary Sheffield was a little bit higher. So very much like your number 5 would be Jeff Bagwell, because I love that batting stance. I was a little too tall and not limber enough to actually make it look right.
Yeah.
But I love that batting stance, though.
Yeah, and my number 4 is Jeff Bagwell as well.
Well, there we go.
So you're sitting on a bench basically trying to swing a baseball bat.
I'm trying to remember. I want to say Andres Galarraga. I was someone that I would try a little bit more upright and a little open, if I remember correctly.
He was open and he was very relaxed at the plate. He was never really I don't want to say intense, because he was intense, but he was just a little more relaxed when he was up there in the batter's box.
So Galarraga, Sheffield, I'll have those like kind of tied there.
Mm-hmm.
No, Sheffield's got to be higher, man. Who didn't like the waggle back and forth, dude? So I'll go. Actually, you know what I'll do is I'll put Galarraga, which I would mess around with, but Chipper Jones. You remember the just bouncing off the shoulder, and I loved his batting stance, man, and he was a little open as well.
And he did it from both sides too, which was impressive.
Dude, I read an article that almost made me and this is not my laptop that I'm using right now, so I couldn't, but I wanted to throw it through that glass window. It was an article from 2009 saying that Chipper Jones was the most overrated baseball player ever. I was 462 or 468 home runs, switch hitter, Hall of Famer. Shut up.
Right.
Shut up.
Yeah.
I mean, Caveman can make the argument because he dislikes the Braves.
I don't know.
You think Chipper was overrated?
I don't know about overrated, but I think sometimes he gets a little love that he doesn't. Like, I remember having a conversation probably 10 or 12 years ago with a guy, younger person, like more of like probably your age nowadays, who wasn't following baseball back in the days of like when Mike Schmidt was playing.
Yeah.
And, made the outlandish comment about Chipper Jones being the best third baseman ever. And I'm like, my jaw like dropped, and I'm like,
I'm not going to sit there and say best third baseman.
Top 5.
I'll say top 5. I'll even go out and say possibly top 10. You know what I mean?
I would say top 5.
No, top 5
but
maybe.
you start looking,
but
then
I'm
you
just
go,
saying for somebody
Brooks Robinson,
being that emphatic and being that young and not seeing, and knowing a whole lot. It's like,
Wade Boggs,
Schmidt, Boggs, Chipper.
That's what I'm saying. You start naming them off, and it's like,
my first
Chipper
inclination was that Schmidt was better than him right off the bat. And
I'm fine with that. You know what I mean? And it's Scott Rowland. I won't say Scott Rowland's better than Chipper
Hall of
Jones.
Famer.
He's a Hall of Famer. So is Chipper, but I won't say that Scott Rowland is better than what Chipper was. But
what helps him is being with the same club, and stuff like that too. That helps out a bunch with your career.
Oh, no doubt about it. Justin Lasseter's got McGuire for his number 4. The big hurt Frank Thomas as his number 2. Bobby, you are now riding with the Afternoon Underdogs right here in Panama City. What's going on, Bobby?
What's happening? One of the best hitters in Major League Baseball history, Rod Carew.
Ooh, Rod Carew.
He had that bat where it was always level, and all he had to do was swing straight forward.
Yep.
I love that one, man. Bobby, thanks so much for the call.
Yes, sir.
And these are guys that I wouldn't know about without A, YouTube, B, MLB The Show.
Yeah.
Man, like for
legends.
baseball nuts, you get out there and you play Diamond Dynasty, dude, and you can build half a squad of current players, half a squad of veterans, not just veterans, you know what I mean, legends of the game. And that's what I love about it so much. And we were talking with Jay Chapman yesterday. I never brought this up, but he was talking about the umpires and their customizable strike zones, because we were, talking about Luis Severino and his comment on the automated strike system in AAA, which they're using it across the league in AAA right now, which means if they're all the way up to AAA with it,
it's coming
3 or 4 years away, But on MLB The Show, there's an option where you can have the umpires to where they get every call right, or a personalized call. You know what I mean? And I want that option clicked because I like. I want you to have that personal call. Like, I want you to be all I care about, I don't even care about it being correct as much as I do consistent.
Yeah.
If you're going to call low and outside, or, low and outside, but it's outside the K zone, call it as closely as possible.
Unless like it's early in the game and you're the catcher, you're trying to frame pitches and you're trying to just push it to see how far that strike zone's going outside.
Greg Maddux made his
and then
career.
when you know that that's the limit, then you got this window right here that you
100%.
can play in and then go with that. So early on in the game, though, it might be a little off, but like by the time you've gone through half of the lineup, they should be pretty known like what the strike zone is.
Number 3 for me is Julio Franco.
Oh,
got the big up above his head, bat pointed toward the pitcher. Like, that was for me, like, especially wiffle ball when you had the long yellow bat, because it always seemed a little bit more daunting toward the pitcher.
Yeah,
like I'm really
coming at you, buddy.
I'm gonna do some damage here, dude.
I love that, man. That's a great one. For number 2 for Justin Lasseter, he's got David Justice. Number 2 for me, like I mentioned, kind of, it'll be Gary Sheffield, man. I had
number
to
2 is Gary Sheffield. Gary Sheffield for me as well.
Who doesn't love Gary Sheffield?
His son has a similar batting stance too. I don't know if you've seen it.
Yeah, I have a little bit. Yeah, he's in high school right now, right?
Yeah.
And he just hit
Heck
like
of
a
a player.
grand slam like not too long ago, I
Heck of a
think,
player.
to move on a little deeper into their state playoffs, which is very interesting. Number 1 for Justin Laster is going to be Gary Sheffield.
There we
So
go.
no surprise there. Number 1 for me is going to be my favorite player of all time, and that's going to be Andrew Jones. I just, the toe tap, man, that's one of the things that has messed my golf game up. You know what I mean? Because I always lift my toe up, man. When I played last Friday at Bay Point, I was playing with this guy, Nick Mathis, and he was giving me some really good tips and, kind of got my swing a little bit straighter. I was driving it a little bit straighter. But the first thing he said after my first swing was, "You're a baseball player, aren't you?" And I was like, not anymore, but yeah, sure. Which that's one of those things. If you played baseball a lot growing up and someone calls you a baseball player, you're like, that is a compliment, because that is what I aim to do. Number 1 for you, AG, is going to be
former Red Leg, Eric Davis. He kind of had his hands tucked down by his waist when he was there, but he always had the big back wiggle right before that. But then when the pitch would come, his hands would drop down to his waist, and he had a really high left leg kick because he was a righty. Always had that real high left leg kick, and then he would, put his weight behind it. So that one for me is iconic.
I love it. Now, Caveman, I know that you didn't emulate or mimic any batting stances, but what are some that stood out to you throughout your time watching baseball?
I hate to say it, but none really. It's not something I actually pay attention to.
How about like a Willie Stargell?
It's just something that, I'm looking at other stuff and paying attention to other stuff and, how somebody's, standing at the plate, to be perfectly honest. Sorry, it's not something that I, got a lot on. I'm not going to sit here and just wing it. I feel that'd be kind of cheating.
All right.
Making it up.
Well, I mean, there's so many different batting stances out there. It's just like golf swings, right?
Yes.
There's not only one correct way to do it, right? With golf, it's are you flush at the point of contact? With baseball, is your swing level at the point of contact, and are you hitting the ball on the right part of the bat? And can you do that 3 times out of 10? If you can, you're a Hall of Famer. And, for a lot of these guys, they may not be Hall of Famers that we've just brought up, but they were successful for an extended period of time at the highest level that you could possibly do it. And they all did it in different ways.
Yep.
And that's what makes the game of baseball so beautiful, is because there's such a nostalgia there for, baseball fans, that we can look back on, things that we did in our childhood to emulate these guys. And then you see a little bit of it in today's game, right? Even with, all the videotape and the statistical analysis like Commissioner Sam Peebles has.
Yeah, you can say that now.
You can delve into all that, but at the root of it, it's a very visual based game, because that's all you're doing is sitting there watching it for now 2 hours and 15 minutes.
See the ball hit the ball.
See the ball hit the ball, right? And then who can do it the best, and then go from there.
Yeah, Tony Batista is one. I don't know if we ever got his name mentioned, but we've talked about these batting stances throughout the years that I've been here on the show. And the one that stands out to me more than any is Tony Batista, where he would be looking at the pitcher like he's looking at a television or something. And so he would, right foot, left foot, both of them pointed at the pitcher. I think his right foot was kind of a little bit more facing the dugout, if you will, but that left foot was right there facing the pitcher. And then as soon as the pitcher would make his approach towards home plate, then he would kind of have that big leg kick and take off from there.
What about some of those players that had some of those routine motions? Like, wasn't it Barry Bonds back in the day when he was like with the Pirates before the steroid era, where he'd do like the leg slap with the glove before he'd catch the ball out in the outfield?
Was that Barry?
Was that Barry? That's what I'm saying. I can't remember.
Did do the what now?
Like
the leg slap with the glove before.
That's Dave Parker.
Dave Parker?
He was the hot dog. Yep, Dave Parker played for the Pirates and then the Reds. And then Eric Davis would actually emulate him as well in kind of honor of him. Not that he was dead at that point, but he would do the leg slap before he caught it.
Because the Pirates back in the day.
I mean, they may have all done it because, Bonds was a Pirate, Parker was a Pirate, Parker was also a Red, and then Eric Davis obviously is a Red. So I'm sure he had a huge influence on both of them.
All right, well, we're not going to leave you high and dry on DeAndre Hopkins. We are going to dive into that when we return. You're listening to ESPN Northwest Florida, and you're riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. Give us a call or text 850-215-6290.
free ESPN Northwest Florida app version 2.0. Now featuring ultra high fidelity. You'll feel like you're in the game. Plus, more opportunities to win weekly prizes from local businesses when you click it to win it. Download the 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida app today at Google Play or the Apple Store.
The road is yours this summer in a new Kia from Bill Bird Kia. Stop by and check out the Bill Bird Kia SUV family that is built for all in adventures and endless possibilities. Whether you're traveling on the highways or off-road, you'll do it with grace and grit. Now offering 3.25% APR up to 48 months on the purchase of a new 2023 Kia Sorento. You'll get the perfect balance of comfort and safety and technology. Bill Bird Kia is the home of the 20-year, 200,000-mile warranty. Stop by and see us today at 2435 East 15th Street or anytime at BillBirdKiaPanamaCity.com. We'll treat you like family and give you the peace of mind that you can trust.
Offer from Kia Finance for the purchase of a new 2023 Kia Sorento with $22.22 per month per $1,000 finance at 48 months. Quantities limited. No down payment required. Cannot be combined with other finance offers. The 20-year, 200,000-mile warranty is a Bill Bird Kia warranty. See dealer for complete details. Offer for well-qualified buyers. Must take delivery from dealer stock through 7/5/23. Behind some strong defense, clutch pitching, and a booming offense, this 2023 Brave squad is reminding the league who they are.
A 1-2 from Strider. Take a hike. Swung on and missed at a 100-mile-an-hour fastball, and Spencer is locked in.
Tonight, it's Atlanta Braves baseball live from Truist Park in Atlanta as they clash with division rivals, the Philadelphia Phillies.
Coverage starts tonight at 6. First pitch, 6:20 on your home for the Atlanta Braves on the Gulf Coast, ESPN, Northwest Florida.
It moves fast. The High School Spotlight. Weekdays at 5:40.
Let's do it.
Sponsored by Barbaritos. ESPN Northwest Florida.
And we're back. It's the final segment of the afternoon for the Afternoon Underdogs. And you're listening to ESPN Northwest Florida, your Atlanta Braves coverage starting at 6 o'clock. And first pitch tonight, 6:20, Taijuan Walker going for the Phils. And Taijuan Walker going for the Phils. And you've got Jared Schuster going for the Braves, who's going to be making, I believe, either his fourth or his fifth start.
Yeah, and he looked great last outing.
Yeah, he finally got that W, you know, and it's kind of like the opposite of Dylan Dodd, who struggled a little bit last night. The Braves only gave up one walk last night. When you can limit your pitching staff in total to just one walk, but the Phillies only threw 3. So there was not a lot of walks going on last night in the ball game. But but Dylan Dodd kind of the opposite. He started out great with his first start, and then ever since then it's just been ooh.
Let me ask you this question. I got kind of fired up on Twitter, especially with Braves fans. I don't know if Commissioner Sam got involved or not. I didn't see, but Harold Reynolds on MLB TV, MLB Network brought up, he said that Mookie Betts is the best player in the National League right now, including over Ronald Acuna.
I mean, for longevity of how long he's been doing it. Now, the thing is, they're
like
kind
right
of...
now. Yeah, right now, Mookie Betts is
I don't
better
think
than
that's
Acuna.
true. Like, as good as Mookie's playing, but all you got to do is watch Ronnie. And the thing is there was a great article that was posted today. I didn't have the time to read it at all. But he's saying, you know, now he's got 2 kids. He has matured. And you can see it. You know what I mean? He's not the same guy that he was 2 years ago. He's not the same. Like, if Freddie Freeman was playing with this Ronald Acuna Jr., they're probably meshing a lot better. The thing is, I don't want to sit here and be like, no way, it's not even close, because how many times have we seen it? I know we're talking about right now, but Mookie can change the game in so many different ways, especially with the speed. But we're talking about a guy that plays right field, that can play second base, that has played shortstop now. You know what I mean? Like, he's all over the field. Whereas Ronnie, I mean,
and can hit.
Who's got and Mookie can hit too, but who's got the more power? Who has more power?
Acuna, definitely.
Acuna, right? And then you get into the speed and all of that stuff, and it's kind of hard to give the edge to either one, but we'll see at the end of the year. For me, Harold Reynolds is a guy that I really like his takes and his analysis on the game, so I'm not going to argue too heavily with him. And it sounds dumb coming from a Braves fan. Braves fans are always going to pick their guy, you know what I mean? Yeah. But to just outright say Mookie Betts ain't hanging with him, I don't know, man. What's your thoughts?
I mean, if you had to tell me, like, okay, the Reds have a choice they can get either Mookie Betts or Ronald Acuna Jr. I'm taking Ronald Acuna Jr. all day long.
I mean, you have longer career with him, and if it's a contract,
even if it's a 2-year deal,
yeah,
right?
but the contract is much sexier with Acuna.
But I'm saying contracts being the same. They're 2-year deals. They're each making $20 million a year. I'm still taking Ronald Acuna Jr.
Gotcha.
Number one, because of the fireworks, the explosiveness. What he does is infectious. And, baseball is a very, very momentous sport. And what I mean by that is hitting is contagious, right? And if you got a guy out there like Acuna who can spark that offense and get things going when you're down 2 runs, 3 runs, and that's not to say Mookie can't do the same thing,
that guy in
but
Boston.
he
doesn't need to be that guy
a
in LA
certain
now.
level. I think LA is just a different mold. I think they all take on Dave Roberts' kind of laid back LA mentality, right? I mean, you see that a lot.
Like, where's Cody Bellinger when you need him?
He's playing well in Chicago. He's hurt right now.
100%, but I was kind of making a laid back
right,
joke
but
there.
I mean,
if you know Cody Bellinger in his eyes, you know what I mean.
But between the two of them, I would rather have Ronnie Acuna for 2 years as opposed to Mookie Betts for 2 years.
Yeah, I want to look at some of these stats here. So plate appearances in favor of Ronald Acuna Jr., that does nothing. Let's go batting average. Mookie Betts is hitting .233 right now. Ronnie's got 37 hits. Mookie's got 21. Ronald Acuna's got 22 runs. Betts has got 16. Home runs, these can't be current stats because it's saying that Ronald's got 4 home runs, whereas Mookie Betts has got 3. So we're,
You look up Mookie, I'll look up Ronnie.
There you go. That'll work then. We can do that. So we'll get to that. I don't want to pivot now and go to DeAndre Hopkins though, because you got me on this. So I'll definitely be looking up Mookie Betts here. Caveman, give us your thoughts while we're looking these up.
On
Mookie Betts and Ronald Acuna Jr.
I don't really care about them. I mean, like, you're splitting hairs at this
Which
point.
one's better?
I mean, like, that's what I'm saying. Like, it doesn't really matter. You're splitting hairs. I mean, it's early in the season. You got, like, maybe, 25% of the season already done and played. No, I mean, like, what is, like, Harold Run is, he's making that call probably based off of the fact, like anything that happens in sports, that you typically go with the guy that's been playing at a better, clip or at a better place or whatever for a longer period of time. And typically that's what's, fresher in your mind, and you're usually going to go with that guy. Typically you got to, do it for a while and have, I don't know what you would say, like just a body of work. I mean, Acuna's a great player. He's been getting better, and he's had a great start to the season. But, just being upset because one guy's picking somebody else, I mean, maybe jokingly West Coast bias. I mean, who knows? I don't know.
All right, so I've got them both pulled up here, but I'll stay on the Mookie Betts page. Are you on Baseball Reference?
I'm actually on just ESPN.
Okay, do you have the WAR there? Because we can get right after that. All right, so the WAR, I got it, bro. Stay where you're at. The WAR for Mookie is 1.9 to this point in the season, whereas for Ronnie, it's a whole point higher at 2.9.
Yeah.
All right, so let's get into hits. I'll take care of Mookie. Mookie's got 47 hits. Where's Ronald? What's Ronald looking like right now?
65.
All right, so Harold, what are you looking at right now? Home runs. Mookie's got 11.
11 for Ronnie.
All right, so we're tied there. Batting average, Mookie's got 250. He's hitting 255.
Ronnie is at 332.
332, which is very nice. 37 runs for Mookie Betts. 46
for Ronnie.
Ronald Acuna Jr. All right, RBIs. This is where Mookie's got the lead here. 30 RBIs for Mookie.
To 27 for Ronnie. And I will say this. Look at who is hit. Look who's on base, or look who's hitting basically ahead of Ronnie. I mean, obviously he leads off.
You never know who's hitting in the 9-hole though.
Right, but you look at who's clearing out runs. Right, so one of the greatest.
Braves also started with an easy season.
One of the greatest stats ever.
Schedule.
I'd rather play in the NL West though.
One of the greatest stats ever is like Tony Perez for the Big Red Machine. He ended up with I think like 1,500 career RBIs, somewhere in that neighborhood. Do you know who batted ahead of Tony Perez for all those years in Cincinnati?
Barry?
Johnny Bench.
Oh, Johnny. Oh.
So you're going to tell me that Tony Perez has 1,500 RBIs when Johnny Bench is batting ahead of him in the lineup every day?
Right.
What's that say about Tony Perez?
No doubt. The next statistic, stolen bases, this is eye-popping. This is, I would have not believed you had you told me this. 1 stolen base for Mookie on the year.
At 22 for Acuna with only 2 caught stealing.
Yeah, which I think that's the more impressive. But you can have the three more RBIs than Ronnie. I'll take the 21 more stolen bases there. OBP is 364 for Mookie. For Ronnie, 419. Slugging, Mookie's slugging at 522. Ronald's at 577. OPS 995 for Ronnie, whereas for Mookie it's 886. So all
they're both fantastic ball players.
They're both great, but the numbers, if we're looking at the numbers where they're at right now, then that's is Ronald Acuna Jr. right now. If we're looking at that, the WAR speaks for itself. 2.9 for Ronnie, 1.9 there for Mookie. All right, we do got to get into DeAndre Hopkins though. Here, DeAndre Hopkins has been cut by the Arizona Cardinals, and they will be taking care of the 22.6
million.
What's that say about Hopkins and him as a teammate?
Well, hold on. What's that say about the Cardinals? Start with the franchise. This has been a dumpster tire fire for like ever, okay?
Yeah.
So I'm not trying to say that DeAndre Hopkins is no saint out there, but I mean, this franchise has been making a bunch of stupid decisions for a very long time.
Right, and now they've made a lot of changes, especially at the top. And they've got a guy that they basically gave the farm away to get DeAndre Hopkins when they got him from Houston. And what does it say, though, that they're willing to just eat that salary, not get anything back in return?
And they were trying.
And they were trying, but the thing is what does that say about DeAndre Hopkins as a person and as a teammate that they're saying, we're going to pay you $20 million a year to go play elsewhere?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's one.
Well, they're not paying him; they're taking the cap hit. Somebody else, he got
regardless,
cut.
they're paying
somebody
money.
else. Somebody else is going to. Well, it's off the cap. Somebody else is going to pay him. Whoever signs him, and he's not going to get $20 million. He'll probably go take a team friendly deal for half of that because he wants to go someplace to probably win. He's not going to go to someplace that's going to give him that $20 million and where he's going to be the number one receiver, have a bad quarterback to throw at him, and he's going to win like 6 games. That's not what he's wanting to do. So I'm sure the list that he has to go to is very small. He's probably got like maybe
Bills,
half a
Ravens,
dozen, 7
Patriots.
teams.
Those are the teams that are interested. The Bills,
that people are saying that are interested.
Right.
I guarantee you there's a handful of other teams out there that if they can get him at a cheap price, they would definitely snatch him up because they're going to make that team that much better. I mean, Baltimore.
So what's the best fit for you then for D-Hop?
I don't know about best fit. I mean, talking about somebody
the Chiefs. Any wide receiver, the best fit is the Chiefs.
If he'll take less money, definitely the Chiefs. They could use somebody like that, and not having Tariq now, definitely he'd be the number one guy on the team. I know you mentioned the Rams. I don't think so because I just don't think that team's good enough and it's not contending enough. I think if he wants to go someplace, though, you definitely want to go to the NFC because you have an easier road to the playoffs and to trying to get a Super Bowl. Now, I don't think we could do it. I mean, he can go to Philadelphia if he's wanting to, take like no money and we can sign him and he can come play for us.
He can come to Tennessee, get no money and get no wins.
Yeah, right. So, I mean, there's options out there for the guy. That's what I would do. But, I mean, looking around the league, I mean, there's not a wealth of places that, you're going to go to that's going to give you what you want, the money that you want, and win.
Yeah, there's no doubt.
I don't think he goes to New England just because of the Bill Belichick thing.
Yeah.
Right.
He's not going to play with Mac Jones.
I don't think Bill Belichick would want him there, number one. Miami would be interesting to be that possession
What's
receiver.
Gonna be like the 6th receiver?
Third? You'd be third.
Yeah.
He is a number 2 or number 3 at this point in his career.
You still think so?
I do, 100%.
Okay. I mean, his drop rate is extremely impressive at like 1%.
His health has been a thing. So if you don't need to focus on him, playing 65 to 70% of the snaps on offense, then that's fine. I'm not saying go the Julio Jones route.
Yeah.
But the Rams seems to me to be the best fit, number one, because you've got, hopefully a healthy Stafford and Kupp coming back. So he's not going to be.
You got a Stetson Bennett.
Denver might be a good landing spot.
He's not going to be counted on to be the number one wide receiver. He would be a great number 2 to Cooper Kupp. And, I mean, you saw what they did with OBJ before he got hurt. To me, it makes sense. McVay's a genius. I think L.A. Rams.
Why didn't that work out with Allen Robinson then?
Because Allen Robinson was washed in Chicago.
Yeah, that's a good point. You know, you had mentioned you just mentioned the Broncos, so I'll let you get to that. But one for me that you mentioned earlier is the Baltimore Ravens. If he's still number 2, number 3 status, then the Ravens do need to look into getting another weapon there for Lamar Jackson. I mean, they've got OBJ,
they've got Bateman if he can stay healthy.
Bateman and
Zay Flowers.
And Zay Flowers is going to be one of, but he's on the smaller side, so he's which is normally the receivers that work out well with Lamar Jackson. Yeah, exactly. So tell me what makes the Denver Broncos a good fit for DeAndre Hopkins?
I mean, he's got Sean Payton, you know, what he can scheme up. Russell Wilson's looking to redeem himself. He's not that bad of a quarterback. You know, he can throw a pretty good deep ball. So I think, you know, that might work. It might be some interest there with both sides. I don't know. They are, you know, ways away from winning. It's not like he's like going to be the piece that's going to put him over the top. So if they're talking about maybe doing some other things, maybe they can entice him to come play there.
Justin says Jacksonville, Denver with a question mark.
Jacksonville is a 3-headed monster.
I know, but shoot, I mean, if
I hate to say it, Dallas.
Look, when I mean, Dallas could be a great fit, but look when Julio went to Tampa Bay, which I mean wasn't the greatest thing in the world. But what I'm getting at is you can get DeAndre Hopkins and have him as a insurance policy almost. If you get him for the right deal. Obviously, if you're paying $10 million, you're going to want to get as much as you can out of him. But I you know,
Detroit might be interesting.
Jacksonville could be fun. Detroit could be interesting. Jameson Williams is going to be out for six games.
Yeah.
And you know, he
that
came
division's winnable.
It's wide open, man. Jordan Love, is leading the Packers. The Detroit Lions are, looking better. They've just been progressing at such a high clip. It's been a lot of fun. And the Vikings. Now, is the defense going to be better for the Minnesota Vikings? If it is, if they've answered that question, then they are more than likely going to go back-to-back and win the NFC North. But there's so many questions and so much more time before we even get to preseason to answer those questions. We are out for the day. You guys have a great Memorial Day weekend. For Bone Crusher, Caveman, Rick, Adam Goff, I'm David Hayes, and your Atlanta Braves are coming up next.
Your attention, please. ESPN Northwest Florida reminds you it's the law. It's the law. When there's a double red flag, stay out of the water, stick your toes in the sand, grab a cold drink, and listen to live sports.
Swung on, miss, strike 3.
On 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
Double play!
Good evening. This is Joanna with your latest forecast on ESPN Northwest Florida. For tonight, mostly clear and a low of 65 with an 8 to 12 miles per hour wind out of the east-northeast. Sunshine tomorrow morning, a gentle breeze and warm near 73. Sunny and 78 in the afternoon and evening. 77 and sunshine with a light breeze Sunday. Monday, mostly sunshine and temperature about the same at 81. This is your Friday's weather sponsored by Mid-South Lumber, the best little lumber yard in Panama City. Thank you for keeping that dial at ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Mid-South Lumber, where they treat you like family. Locally owned and serving the residents of Bay County for over 45 years. Visit their feed store at the Youngstown